He is kicked from the hero's party for being useless, but he turns out to have SSS-ranked skills in everything aside from fighting. Kurt is a 15-year-old boy from a village hidden in the mountains that no one has ever heard about. He always wanted to be an adventurer, so he came to the city and joined an S-rank adventure party, but only as their errand boy. While the other members of his party fight against powerful monsters, he gets knocked out even before the fight begins. Despite this, he is proud that he is a member of a party that is hailed as heroes by everyone, until one day, his party members tell him that he is fired. Kurt is aghast to hear this shocking news and asks what he did wrong, and the party leader tells him that he didn't do anything at all, and that is the problem. According to the laws of this world, there can only be 4 members in a party, and they need to fire him to make space for a high-ranking mage who will actually help them. Kurt tries to plead with the party leader to let him stay, only to get kicked in the guts and knocked out, making him realize that he is living the cliché story of the loser who is kicked out of the hero's party. Luckily, he doesn't keep whining and b***ing about it, and immediately reaches the temp agency in the next city to look for a job. Just as he enters the agency building, he meets an overexcited receptionist who immediately starts interviewing him for a job. She is surprised to learn that he was just fired from the party that was promoted to SS rank recently. Kurt gets depressed talking about it, but the receptionist cheers him up by saying that this will look great on his resume. After that, she takes him for an aptitude test to see if he has any hidden skills, but he gets a G for all the combat-oriented skills. Kurt is even more disheartened, and the receptionist tells him that the guy who can test his non-combat skills will come back next week. Kurt meekly tells her that he is flat broke right now, and the receptionist decides to give him another chance. She tells him to pick up a sandbag lying in the corner, and as Kurt does it, he finds the sand sucking in his mana. The bag starts growing incredibly heavy, and the receptionist tells Kurt to drop it. She tells him that since he has basic fitness and strength, he can do construction work to earn some money, and Kurt is glad to take up the offer. He goes to the construction site where a grumpy guy looks at his resume and then at his twink-like body, before agreeing to give him a job because they are extremely short-staffed. He tells Kurt that his task is to mix cement and repair the city walls with it, and if he can't use half a barrel of cement in 3 hours, he will be fired. The man leaves without waiting for any questions, and Kurt decides to put magic in the cement to make it stronger since it was common sense in his village. 3 hours later, when Grumpy returns to check on him, he is dumbfounded to see that Kurt has fully plastered 30% of the wall on his side and used up all the cement available to him. He can't believe that a noob can do all this in 3 hours, but Kurt takes his shocked reaction as anger and apologizes. However, Grumpy tells him to come to work for as long as he can and hands out his entire purse to Kurt, saying that he will send the rest of his payment over to the temp agency. Within 3 days, Kurt finishes plastering half the wall around the city by himself, causing panic amongst the rest of the workers. Grumpy notices this and tells Kurt that he doesn't have to come to work from tomorrow, because if he does that, there won't be anything left for those who need the money more than him. He gives him the rest of his payment and tells him to find work that fits his abilities better in the royal capital. But like any other self-doubting loser, Kurt thinks that Grumpy is saying all this only to send him away. He goes to the temp agency and tells the receptionist that he lost his job, when suddenly, they hear a tanned beauty arguing with another receptionist about a job offer. Kurt's receptionist decides to talk to the girl named Ulyssia, who needs a miner to explore a mountain, but she will pay them only if they can find something valuable. The receptionists tell Ulyssia that her offer is not reasonable, but Kurt is desperate enough to ask her to hire him because he has done some mining work back in his village. The receptionist warns him that there's a good chance that he will be paid, and even the girl says that she is looking for a strong dwarf and not a twink. However, she doesn't have any money to hire a dwarf, so she agrees to take Kurt with her. As Kurt leaves, the receptionist begins to fantasize about hiring him to be her submissive boy toy, when suddenly, her colleague tells her that the construction boss has sent a check for Kurt's remaining payment. The receptionist is flabbergasted when she sees that he has been paid 200 gold coins, and she trips on the sandbags. Her colleague helps her up while telling her that these are no ordinary sandbags but special devices to measure a person's magic capacity, but only people who are on the level of a royal mage can activate them. The receptionist decides to move the sandbags out of the way, but they don't even react to her, and she remembers how heavy they were when Kurt tried to lift them, making her wonder how strong he really is. On the other hand, Ulyssia takes Kurt to her base on the mountain, and tells him that they are going to sleep in the same tent tonight. Kurt gets flustered because he won't be able to control himself sleeping next to a cute girl, and Ulysses goes crazy because he is the first guy who ever called her cute. After rattling him for trying to butter her up, she gives him his dinner, which is just a boiled potato. But Kurt still finds it delicious because it has been a very long time since someone else cooked for him. After that, they sleep in the same tent, and Kurt feels his sword rising as he sees Ulysses completely defenseless. However, being a gentleman and a wuss, he goes outside to rub a quick one out and then sleeps there. Turns out that Ulysses was just testing him to see if she should choose him over a bear, and she gets rizzed up by his character and cute looks. The next morning, she finds Kurt sleeping outside and then notices that he repaired her coat last night too. While she is marveling at his abilities, Kurt wakes up, so Ulysses gets to business and tells him that they need to earn 10 gold coins by the end of the week. However, she has no idea how to actually find something valuable in the mountain, but luckily, Kurt has got her covered. He uses his knowledge to quickly find a rock with crystals inside them that are worth 3 gold coins, and Ulysses can't believe her eyes. In just a couple of hours, Kurt gathers a lot of crystals, but he tells Ulysses that they won't sell for much since they are too small, and that is why he decides to turn them into magic crystals. Ulysses is shocked because craftsmen who can do that are incredibly rare, but Kurt is finished processing one before she even has the time to complain. She is shocked because it takes an hour to make even a small magic crystal, and this surprises Kurt as he begins to think about the masters who can use magic for a full hour and not get tired. Ulysses knows that they are not on the same page here, but she lets Kurt work on the magic crystals. Once he is done, she decides to go to the city to sell them, but Kurt opts to stay back so that he can explore the mountain a bit more. Ulysses goes to the night station and shows them the magic crystals. When they ask her about the documents of origin of the crystals, she shows them a pendant, and the knights freak out because the pendant means she is an adventurer working directly for the royal family. They immediately grant her the permission to use the teleportation device to go to the royal capital, unaware that Ulysses no longer works for the royal family now. Once she reaches the capital, Ulysses goes to her friend Mimiko to sell the magic crystals. At first, Mimiko says that the crystal is not worth much because it is not glowing too much. But when she examines it closely, she offers to buy the single piece for 10 gold coins. Ulysses is dumbfounded by this price, so Mimiko explains that the magic crystals have 10 times the mana inside them, and they don't even glow too much because they are not leaking any. Ulysses tells her that she has 49 more of those, and Mimiko buys all of them from her instantly. Once the deal is done, she asks Ulysses about the person who made the crystals, but she refuses to reveal Kurt's identity without his permission. Even when Mimiko uses her status as the royal court mage to command Ulysses, she stands her ground. In the end, Mimiko asks Ulysses to make sure that whoever made the crystals doesn't go to another country, and also to tell him that he can get a noble rank and the position of a court mage if he agrees to serve the kingdom. Ulysses agrees to her, but starts freaking out as soon as she leaves the shop. She returns to the other city the next morning and immediately goes to the job agency to inquire about Kurt. The receptionist tries hard to protect his identity, but Ulysses uses the royal pass to read his file. She is shocked to know the things he has already done and then commands the receptionist to never share any information about Kurt to anyone else. She then deposits the entire amount she got from selling the crystals in Kurt's name and then heads to the mountain to check up on him. To her utter surprise, Kurt has built a house from scratch in one day, and on top of it, he doesn't think it is a big deal because people in his village used to do such things all the time. Once they enter the cottage, Ulysses tells Kurt that he has been offered the post of the director of Royal Magic Technology Research Lab as well as the title of a noble for the magic crystals he created. Kurt can't believe that, but when Ulysses asks him about his decision, he decides to refuse the offer because he doesn't think that he is fit enough to command others. Also, he tells her that he is enjoying working as a freelancer right now, and Ulysses suddenly starts feeling conscious. She tells Kurt that she got a lot of money from selling the magic crystals he made, but since she had no contribution in that, she took only 1 gold coin as her fee and deposited the rest in his account. That is why she asks Kurt to work for her again so that she can sell his magic crystals and earn the amount she needs in the form of her commission. He eagerly tells her that he found another good spot to dig out minerals and says that he will get his tools ready, but Ulysses asks him to wait, thinking that he must be tired. Kurt tells her that he got a full 6 hours of sleep, and that totally confuses Ulysses because she doesn't understand how he can do that despite building the cabin. However, Kurt thinks that she is upset because he slept too much since he only got 4 hours of sleep when he worked with the S-Rank Adventure Party. After that, Kurt leads her to the spot he told her about and tells her to not dig any deeper than 50 meters. He leaves Ulyssia at that spot and decides to keep digging at the place where they found the crystals earlier. A few hours later, Ulyssia manages to dig a football-sized topaz out of the ground, and she is delighted because now she can earn money thanks to her own efforts. She then decides to check up on Kurt, and this time, she is sure that he must have dug a cave already. However, Kurt exceeds her expectations once again, and she finds that he has created a proper mine in the mountain, and even put glowing moss on the walls so that it doesn't need any additional light. Ulyssia freaks out, and just then Kurt comes there with a crate of rocks in his hand. Ulyssia eagerly asks him how work turned out for him, hoping that he wouldn't give her any more surprises. Kurt tells her that unfortunately he got a lot of useless stones and a little amount of the mineral he was looking for. Ulyssia is low-key pleased on hearing that, but when Kurt tells her that the useless stones are called mithril, she is completely dumbfounded. Kurt says that in his village, they mined so much mithril that they just threw it away, and Ulyssia feels her mind exploding because mithril is even more expensive than platinum and diamond. She falls to her knees in desperation, but then she asks Kurt what was the other ore he was looking for. As Kurt shows her a piece of the mineral called orichalcum, Ulyssia recognizes it as the legendary mineral that is called the Metal of Gods. She asks him how did he find something so rare in this mountain, and Kurt tells her that orichalcum can be found anywhere in the world once you dig beyond 7 kilometers. Ulyssia doesn't even have the energy to be surprised even more, and she just confirms that Kurt dug 7 kilometers deep into the ground and then returned to the surface in the time it took her to find one mineral. Just then, the golden rays of the sun enter the mine through the other side, and she realizes that Kurt dug a tunnel through the mountain while mining, but she accepts that as a very normal thing for him. Luckily, Ulyssia can use the tunnel as a new path between the village and the nearby city as it cuts the traveling time down significantly. She decides to let licensed merchants use the tunnel to reach their destination quickly in exchange for a maintenance fee, which would be enough to cover her taxes and expenses. A couple days later, Kurt goes to the city where he runs into Bandana, one of the members of his previous party. Kurt gets excited to see her and asks if the rest of the party members are here too, but Bandana tells him that she has left the party. After Kurt was kicked out, the party struggled a lot in the missions and Bandana knew that they were done for. Then there was another incident where their party leader threw a tantrum after he didn't like the food of the most famous restaurant in the city. He trashed the place and left without paying the bill, and the guards started looking for him. He then ordered Bandana to find Kurt and bring him back to cook food for them at any cost. Bandana took his teleportation stone with the excuse of finding Kurt quickly, but she knew that the party leader was going to get arrested, and since their healer was summoned by the church, there wouldn't be any reason for her to return. However, she doesn't tell Kurt any of that and explains that she was fired too. He gets upset on hearing this because it means someone like him can never return to the party. He tells Bandana that he looked up to the party leader a lot, and she just scoffs because she knows something that no other member of the party knows. She decides to change the topic by telling Kurt that she is also a freelancer like him, and since they are in the same boat, they should help each other out. She tells him that one of her friends, who is an 8-Leer Meister, one of the 15 master craftsmen of the kingdom, needs some help urgently. She asks Kurt to help them for her sake, and the little pushover can't say no to her. He follows the map given to him and reaches the workshop of the master craftsman, where a cute elf opens the door. Kurt gets surprised, thinking that this lowly is the 8-Leer Meister, but she introduces herself as Michelle, the master craftsman's assistant. She happily takes Kurt inside as he tells her that he is here to help them on Bandana's recommendation. However, Kurt begins regretting it just as he enters the house, because it stinks worse than a bachelor's room. He finds that the entire place is covered in filth and Michelle tells him that she needs his help to clean it. Kurt realizes that he was called here just to help with the chores and not to help the master craftsman directly. Just then, the master calls Michelle to the workshop and she leaves Kurt to do his job. He immediately pulls out his cleaning gear and within 30 minutes, he turns the filthy kitchen spotless. After that, he decides to follow the direction Michelle went in and knocks at a door. A voice tells him to come inside, and Kurt obeys, only to find a girl changing clothes. He freaks out because of that, but the girl is completely unaware and defenseless. She doesn't mind Kurt staring at her as he nervously introduces himself, but then he notices a curse mark on her stomach. Kurt grows curious about it, and he asks for the girl's permission to inspect the curse mark. He thinks that she is in a terrible shape, but thankfully, she is still healthy enough to feel hungry. Kurt decides to cook something light for her and returns to the kitchen. On the other side, Ulyssia takes the mithril and orichalcum that Kurt mined to her friend Mimiko, who tells her that the total value of the rare minerals is over 50,000 gold coins. Both of them agree that it is a ridiculously huge amount, and Mimiko begins to wonder how such a monstrous kid has stayed hidden from the world till now. Ulyssia has no idea herself, but she reveals her plan to make Kurt an Aetlier Meister, and then become his bodyguard to keep him safe. But the biggest problem in her plan is that Kurt underestimates himself a lot. On the other hand, Kurt has finished preparing porridge for the cursed girl when Michelle returns to the kitchen with her master Ophelia. Both of them are surprised to see the kitchen clean, and Kurt apologizes to Ophelia for using the kitchen without her permission. He tells her that he was preparing food for the cursed girl, and Ophelia makes him promise not to tell anyone about her. With that, she gives Kurt his payment for the day and sends him off, feeling careless about letting an outsider like him meet the cursed girl Lies. Ophelia then returns to Liza's room, who is her only student. After she helps her dress properly, Ophelia tells Lies that she will test the porridge for poison, but she tells her that it is not necessary because she trusts Kurt. Ophelia agrees to her requests, and then Lies eats the porridge. She likes it a lot, but then suddenly, she starts groaning in pain and falls to the ground. Ophelia panics, thinking that Kurt really poisoned the food, but as she starts running to find an antidote, Lies stops her. She suddenly springs back on her feet and tells Ophelia that she is cured and shows her that the curse has vanished. Ophelia can't believe her eyes because she had been unable to lift the curse, and the rate at which Lies got better is really suspicious too. She immediately heads to the capital along with Lies and goes to Mimiko's shop. Mimiko asks Ophelia the reason she came here, when Lies suddenly reveals her face to them, and both Mimiko and Ulyssia fall to their knees because Lies is actually the third princess of the kingdom. Ophelia explains that Liza's mother was from a neighboring country, and she is the only thing ensuring peace between the two countries. She was cursed by someone in an attempt to start a war, but today, the curse was suddenly lifted. Ophelia asks Mimiko to help her find who cast the curse, but Mimiko is more curious about how the curse was broken. Lies gladly tells them that it was because of a man named Kurt, and both Mimiko and Ulyssia freak out on hearing that he is involved in this case too. Ophelia then explains that Lies broke free from the curse after she ate the porridge made by Kurt, and Ulyssia wonders what other impossible things Kurt has done in the 6 hours she spent away from him. Mimiko suddenly speaks up and says that the person who placed a curse on Lies must have connections with a curse user and enough influence to interfere with the anti-curse barrier around the palace. She has 3 suspects that fit the criteria, and they include Sinova, the first general of the Royal Expeditionary Forces, Pope Tristan of the Poland Church, and Isidora, the third queen of the kingdom. While Ophelia and Lies agree that Tristan and Isidora can tamper with the anti-curse barrier, they don't think that Sinova can do that. Ulyssia replies that Sinova has connections with the Thieves' Guild, and they are experts at this sort of thing. With no way to pinpoint the exact culprit, Ophelia comes up with a plan. She says that they will lay a trap to find the person who wants to harm the princess. She explains that according to their country's laws, Lies became an adult after her 15th birthday, and now she must spend 1 year in training. Ophelia says that they will create a fake workshop for that, and then invent a fake Aetlier Meister to run the workshop. When Lies starts training under the fake Aetlier Meister, her enemies will try to gather information about her master, but since it would be a fake, they will not find anything. Mimiko understands that if the princess's enemies try too hard to find out about her master, they will expose themselves, but Ophelia doesn't know where they can find someone qualified to be a fake Aetlier Meister. Ulyssia has the answer to her problem, and she immediately shows her the magic crystal made by Kurt. While Ophelia is dumbfounded on learning that Kurt has more than one SSS rank skill, Lies is really impressed. On the other hand, Kurt goes to Ophelia's workshop the next day, but he finds that it is closed. He runs into Michelle on the way out, and she tells him that after he visited them yesterday, Ophelia left the house, so there is no work for him to do. Kurt gets depressed on hearing that, but then he gets distracted by his rumbling stomach. He immediately goes to an inn to get some food, and there, he overhears some adventurers talking about canceling a mission because their porter bailed out on them. Kurt thinks that this is a chance for him to get a job, and he approaches the adventurers for it. The girl tells him that a twink like him can't carry even his own weight. But the knight smacks her and tells Kurt that he doesn't look strong enough to help them because they are going to hunt golems that weigh over 200 kilos. Kurt cheerfully tells them that he can handle 200 kilograms without any problem, and to prove his strength, he decides to lift both the men of the group. He first lifts the samurai and then the knight, who is in a full suit of armor, impressing everyone at the inn. After proving his abilities, Kurt manages to get the job of the group's porter for this mission, and once they are done with the introductions, he finds that they are nice people. He decides to try his best not to let them down, but as soon as they are about to enter a dungeon, he steps on a slime and gets stuck. The ranger Sina tells him to stab the slime's core to kill it, but Kurt can't do even that and stabs himself instead. Sina is really disappointed by the lack of his combat skills, but she defeats the slime for him. Kurt apologizes to her party for slowing them down, but they tell him that he shouldn't worry about it because his job is just to carry stuff, and it is their job to keep him safe. This is a completely new experience for Kurt because his previous party members used to get angry whenever he made mistakes. He starts crying because of that, but then he wipes his tears and resumes the mission. Once they reach the cave, Sina spreads glowing moss around to give them better visibility, and Kurt spots some fresh goblin poop. The adventurers tell him that they can handle a couple of goblins with ease, but they will have to run away if they come across a group. They move ahead with that, and Kurt finds something on the cave's wall, when suddenly, the adventurers spot a goblin. They kill it immediately, but the goblin calls its friends before dying. Soon, the sound of goblins starts coming from both directions, and the adventurers realize that they have no way to escape now. Kurt tells them that he has found a secret passage they can use to escape, but the adventurers decide to do something else instead. As soon as Kurt opens the secret door, Sina goes after him, saying that she will help him find the exit, but instead, she shuts the door. Kurt gets confused about what she is doing, but then the warrior and the samurai from the other side tell him that there is no way they can escape with goblins coming from both sides. That is why they have decided to stay and stop the goblins while Kurt and Sina find a way out. Kurt is shocked to hear this, and he says that he will help them fight too. But Sina tells him to shut up because he can't even kill a slime, and he will just be holding her friends back. Kurt is devastated as he realizes that the two adventurers are sacrificing their lives for him, and he can't even do anything to help them. But Sina tells him that they will survive. She tells Kurt that they need to find a way out quickly, but as she spreads the glowing moss around the room, she sees an iron dragon golem and freezes in terror. On the other hand, Ulysses leads Lies to the inn where Kurt is staying, but they don't find him in his room. Suddenly, Bandana appears outside the room and tells them that Kurt went to a cave in the north with an adventurer party. Ulysses rushes outside to see who is talking, but by the time she reaches there, Bandana has vanished. Ulysses thinks that it might be a trap, but she is worried about Kurt more, so she decides to go to the caves to search for him. Lies says that she will join her because she knows enough magic to protect herself, and Ulysses has no choice but to let her come along. They soon reach the cave, and Lies can identify Kurt's footprints on the floor. Once the hard floor begins and the footprints end, she uses a magic spell to boost her senses, and Ulysses thinks that the princess will improve her hearing to find Kurt. However, this obsessed simp enhances her sense of smell instead and sniffs the walls to find the direction Kurt went in. Ulysses is both appalled and jealous of Lies now, but then she suddenly hears some sounds coming from a distance. She realizes that someone is fighting with goblins ahead and decides to help them, so Lies boosts her strength with magic. Ulysses rushes ahead and saves the two adventurers who are surrounded by goblins, leaving them awestruck. On the other hand, Sina undergoes a mental breakdown because of the iron dragon golems in front of her. She knows that the golems will attack them as soon as they try to get past them, and that means that her party members risk their life for nothing. She gets depressed, but Kurt tells her to cheer up because they are going to escape. Sina thinks he is delusional, but then Kurt walks towards the dragon golems calmly. She panics as the golems activate and attack him, but Kurt dodges their attacks and climbs on top of them in a split second. Then, with a single strike of his dagger, he breaks the golem's tail. The dragon golem tries to attack him out of desperation, but Kurt dodges that too, and then breaks its head with another hit. Sina can only stare at him in terror and awe as Kurt swiftly dismantles the golems one by one. She asks him what the hell did he just do, and Kurt simply tells her that he used to mine iron golems back in his village. Just then, Ulysses kicks open the door looking for Kurt, and the stunned Cena begins telling her how he destroyed the iron golems with his dagger. Ulysses finds it hard to believe too, but then she decides to deal with the more important things first. She tells Kurt that the adventurers he came here with are fine, and she has important news to share with him. She tells him that a new 8-layer workshop is going to be formed soon, and she is going to work as a bodyguard there. She asks Kurt to work at the workshop with her because Ophelia highly recommended him after his work at her place. Kurt gets happy to hear that, but he hesitates since he feels that he needs to work with the adventurer party. However, the adventurers tell him that he should not let this golden opportunity slip from his hands. Ulysses adds that since the workshop is new, they need a lot of workers and decides to hire the adventurers too. Everyone gets happy with the arrangement, and then Ulysses tells Kurt that he should get his non-combat abilities evaluated before he starts working at the workshop. Kurt agrees with her and reaches the temp agency, where Mimiko has arrived from the capital for his assessment. Once the assessment is done, Kurt goes out partying with his adventurer friends, but Ulysses goes to talk with Mimiko about the results. Mimiko tells her that she told Kurt that he had B-rank skills in cooking, cleaning and mining, and C-rank abilities in the rest of the things. However, that was just a lie, and he had SSS rank abilities in everything. Mimiko says that it is a good thing that she did the evaluation because it will be incredibly dangerous if the news goes outside. Just as she says this, she hears a whimpering sound and turns around to see the receptionist trying to shut her ears to convince Mimiko and Ulysses that she didn't hear anything. Soon after that, Kurt and his group head out to a distant city in a high-speed carriage. While Kurt shows everyone how uncivilized he is by sticking his nose on the window, Liz explains that the city they are going to was once a military base next to demon territory. It is quite far away from the rest of the country, and they can't even teleport directly there. But Liz says that it is still an important city to the Alliance. The adventurer party still can't believe that they are getting employed by the 8-layer Meister in such an important city. But Ulysses tells them that they are well qualified for the job. The warrior Cans and the samurai Danjo are glad to hear that, and they ask about the 8-layer Meister they are going to serve, but that leaves Ulysses speechless, and she somehow makes excuses about the Meister being busy with some sudden work. Meanwhile, Cena doesn't believe that they are qualified to work with an 8-layer Meister. She thinks that Ulysses only offered them this job to shut their mouths, and she is determined to protect her brother and Danjo if they are ever in danger. Soon, they reach the city where their workshop is going to be situated, but Kurt remembers it as the city where he started working as a freelancer. He gets sad on recalling how he was fired just after 3 days of working at the construction site. But once they enter the city, he finds that the remaining wall has not yet been repaired. Ulysses distracts him by saying that maybe they are repairing the wall with a different technique, and Kurt buys that lie. Soon after that, they reach the location of their workshop, but it is just an empty plot. Ulysses tells everyone that they are going to stay in an inn till the workshop is built, and then turns to Kurt, asking if he can do it all by himself. Kurt nervously tells her that he can't build a workshop in just 1 day, but he can manage to make one in 3 days. The adventurers are dumbfounded on hearing this, but Ulysses tells Kurt that he should take his sweet time and ask them if he needs any materials. Kurt immediately prepares a list with items like amethyst, sapphires and griffin wings, and Ulysses tells him that she will bring them in 2 days. Cena gets suspicious of the strange list, and Ulysses notices her odd reaction. She quickly tells everyone to follow her to the inn so that Kurt can work in peace. She also asks Kurt to come to the inn for meals and rest, and he agrees. With that, everyone else goes to the inn, and Ulysses calls a meeting with the adventurers to fill them in about the important details. She introduces herself as an adventurer formerly working for the royal family, and then Liz introduces herself as the 3rd princess of the country. The adventurers' jaw drops on hearing this, and they ask if Kurt is a noble too. Ulysses says that even they don't know Kurt's real identity, but they know that his combat skills are all G rank, and all other skills are of SSS rank. She says that they have not told Kurt about it because he would not believe it, but that makes Cena angry. She lashes at Ulysses, saying that she is exploiting Kurt by hiding the truth from him, and then turns to her brother for support. However, Keynes knows that they are dealing with things beyond their pay scale, so he asks the girls to continue. Liz then tells them that she was cursed by someone, and Kurt broke the curse by cooking porridge for her. That is why they decided to set up a workshop in this distant town, so that they can hide their identity from the world and force the person who cursed her to come looking for her. Liz explains that Kurt knows nothing about this, and he is not even aware that she is a princess, but he still helped her without asking for anything in return. Ulysses says that Kurt is too pure for this world and she wants to protect him, and Lies asks the adventurers to help them with that. Danzo and Kenz immediately agree to their request because Kurt is their friend, but Sina still doesn't trust them yet. She asks why should they put their lives online for someone they met just 3 days ago, and Ulysses replies that she understands her very well because she also met Kurt just 6 days ago. Sina is shocked on learning this and she leaves the inn, wondering what to do. She decides to check up on Kurt first and tell him the truth. But once she enters the workshop location, she finds that Kurt has already finished the basement. She is left aghast by this, but Kurt tells her that he is going really slow because in his village people could build 12 houses in just 1 day. The shocked Sina asks Kurt if he doesn't hate work being shoved on him, and he replies that he likes it a lot because everyone in his previous party called him useless, but now he has the chance to be useful to everyone. Sina suddenly realizes why Ulysses said Kurt is too pure, and she decides to join her act and protect Kurt from the world. On the other hand, Danzo returns to the city where he worked earlier and meets Bandana, who is working as an informant. She tells him that the porter who bailed out on their last mission is actually a career criminal who joins parties to sabotage them. She says that one of their rival parties had paid him to make them sign up for the dangerous mission so that they would all die, and he almost got that done. Danzo thanks Bandana and pays her fee for the information, before going to the bar where the traitor is enjoying his success. He curses Danzo's party for surviving the dangerous cave and then getting a job offer from the third princess, but he still plans to crush them so that his value increases in the eyes of his future clients. However, as he notices Danzo sitting behind him, he freaks out and runs from the bar. He trips on a wire and Danzo easily catches up to him, saying that he should have been more aware when he hired him. The traitor pisses his pants as he begs for mercy, and fortunately for him, Danzo didn't want to kill him. He just leaves him with a warning about never coming near his friends again, but this disappoints Bandana, who was hiding in the darkness the whole time. She wanted Danzo to deal with the traitor because he could create problems for her master's plans in the future, but just as she is about to do it herself, 2 spies arrive there and take the traitor away. Bandana recognizes them as the members of the intelligence unit run by Mimiko, whom her master had instructed her to leave alone. Just then, she gets a message from her master about her next mission to investigate Kurt's hometown. Meanwhile, 3 days pass since Kurt started working on the workshop, and when everyone arrives to check it out, they can't believe their eyes. The workshop is the most luxurious building they have ever seen, and there are fruit-bearing trees in the garden. No one understands how Kurt did all this in just 3 days, but they have not yet seen the inside of the workshop. It is fully furnished everywhere, and Kurt has even created a special device that can create all the water they need. That is the part that confuses everyone the most, and they ask Kurt to explain how he made it. He tells Ulysses that he turned the gemstones he ordered into magic crystals so that they can provide water, light, and heat to the building throughout the year. He has also built private rooms for everyone and a lavish office for the Atelier Meister. He asks Ulysses when the Atelier Meister will return, and she makes an excuse that he got busy with something new this time. She then asks him where is his room, and he replies that since he is just in charge of errands, he doesn't need a room, so he is going to stay in the empty kitchen closet. Everyone freaks out on hearing this, and then Ulysses and Lies tell him to use the office as his room because it is going to be empty for the time being. It takes 2 hours of convincing from everyone to get Kurt to agree to use the office as his room. Ulysses then asks him if he can create a barrier to protect the house from curses, but that is beyond Kurt's expertise. Ulysses has to use the old-fashioned way of putting warding circles all over the house to protect Lies and others from curse, but she gets startled when Lies opens her door, expecting that it is Kurt who is here to sneak into her bed at night. However, the next morning, as everyone gets busy enjoying the food prepared by Kurt, he goes on a mission to clean the warding circles, thinking that they are graffiti. Ulysses rushes to stop him, but she is too late and Kurt cleans the last circle in front of her eyes, even though Mimiko had said that they are impossible to remove. She somehow makes up a story to explain those circles to Kurt, but then she starts worrying because she doesn't have any more of them, and if someone targets the princess now, she is the only one who can protect her. A few days pass since that incident, and fortunately, there have been no attacks on Liza's life. Ulysses is relieved that the princess looks completely fine, even though Kurt erased the magic circles to ward off curses. She wonders if it is because their enemies don't know about her location, or if Kurt's cooking is simply nullifying all the curses cast on her without letting anyone know. Also, Mimiko has arrived in the city and spread her network of spies to catch their enemies, and Ulysses thinks they can rest assured for the time being. She then tastes the cake Kurt has made and loses her mind over how delicious it is. Lies also praises the cake, and Kurt tells her that he made it using rice flour. Lies remarks that he is great at making rice dishes because it was his rice porridge that broke her curse. She asks him to prepare that any time she falls under a curse, but Kurt tells her that there is no need for that because she will not be cursed again. Ulysses is surprised to hear this and asks Kurt how can he say that so confidently because earlier he told them that it was difficult to create a barrier to protect against curses. Well, Kurt tells her that it is indeed difficult to create a barrier to ward off curses inside the building, because the building itself is a barrier that reflects all curses. Kurt explains that he can't create another barrier inside of it, which is why he made his earlier statement. He adds that he tweaked the function of the barrier a little, and instead of reflecting the curse on the user, it makes them shine brightly because he doesn't want anyone to get hurt by the curse. Ulysses immediately leaves to inform Mimiko and others about this, and Kurt asks Lies if she would like to go shopping with him. Lies gets sad on hearing this because despite wanting to go with him, she cannot leave the safety of the building. On the other hand, General Allraid and his assistant are patrolling the city walls because of a thick fog surrounding them. The general has a feeling that something bad is going to happen, but his assistant tells him that they shouldn't worry too much because the city walls were repaired properly. He reminds Allraid that he acted as the project supervisor himself, and the general replies that he did it to make sure there were no enemy spies who compromised the city's safety. Meanwhile, Mimiko, Ophelia, and Ulysses find a curse user who is glowing even after his death. Mimiko tells them that he was already dead when her spies found him, and Ophelia remarks that Kurt created a really strong reflecting barrier that works even when the target is dead. She says that if Kurt fully cooperates with them, they can solve this problem in just one day, but Ulysses is against it because she doesn't want to put him in any danger. Suddenly, they hear the city alarms going off as an army of skeleton monsters approaches the city walls. General Allraid and his assistant panic on seeing this, but they quickly gather the soldiers. Allraid decides to stay back and defend the city with his life and asks his assistant to evacuate people. But then suddenly the skeletons walk right into the wall and vanish. Everyone is confused about what is happening, and even Ulysses and others get this report through her spies. Ulysses suddenly realizes that the monsters are disappearing after being absorbed into the western side of the wall, which was the part Kurt repaired. Soon, the first wave of monsters is completely absorbed into the wall, but more of them are going to arrive soon. The one behind the attack is Marlefus, the healer of Kurt's former party, who was exiled by the bishop after the party leader was arrested. Marlefus tried explaining that she had nothing to do with that, but the Hippo bishop told her that her actions have brought shame to the church. However, he gave her a chance to redeem herself and also get promoted to an official priest. Marlefus was eager to know more, and the bishop poured an expensive wine before telling her about the mission. As soon as Marlefus drank the wine, the fat bastard told her that her mission is to help him assassinate the third Princess Lies. She was stunned to hear that, and the very next moment, a curse took over her body. The bishop told her that the wine was cursed, and now she cannot consume anything except water till she killed Lies. Marl accepted the mission, believing that she should follow the bishop's orders because he is a representative of their god. However, she soon realized that the bishop had made a deal with the demon to assassinate Lies, but it was too late to change her decision by then. In the present, the demon absorbs her magic power to summon more skeletons, and Lies realizes that she has been set up as a sacrifice. The next day, Ulysses tells Lies and Kurt about the attack of the skeleton monsters that are coming from nearby ruins. She says that the moment the skeletons touch the wall, they were destroyed, and Kurt replies that it is common sense in his village that skeletons are purified when they touch walls. Ulysses isn't even surprised at this, but she knows that Kurt repaired only 1/3 of the wall and the remaining part is still vulnerable to the skeletons. She suddenly gets an idea and tells Like and Kurt to stay inside the building while she goes to the ruins and cleans up the source of the monsters. Kurt volunteers to go with her, but Ulysses tells him that he can't even fight, and his main job is to protect Lies. She then goes to the storeroom and pulls out the magic crystals made by Kurt because her plan involves using them against the monsters. After that, Ulysses takes Mimiko and Ophelia to the Knights' barracks, where Allraid is busy coming up with a strategy to defend the city. He is surprised to see so many high-profile people here, and Ulysses tells him that they are all here to keep Princess Lies safe. Ulysses immediately gets to business and tells Allraid to distract the monsters and open a path to the ruins so that she can deal with the source of the problem. Allraid tells her that it is too dangerous, but Ulysses shows him the magic crystals and says that they are enough to get the job done. Allraid agrees to follow her plan, but he decides to raid the ruins alongside Ulysses, leaving the city's defense to his deputy. They head to the city gates and find a huge horde of undead monsters in front of them. Ulysses tells everyone to close their eyes as she throws a magic crystal at them, and the moment the crystal touches a zombie, it releases an intense burst of light, purifying all the monsters in the area instantly. Even Ulysses is surprised by how effective the magic crystal was, but she has no time to waste, and she immediately charges out alongside Allraid. Back in the workshop, Kurt wonders how he can help his friends deal with the monster problem. He remembers a master blacksmith in his village and thinks that if he can create weapons like him, he might be able to do something. So he starts forging a short sword, but he is not satisfied with the result. Just as he is about to discard the sword, Liz comes there looking for him. She is curious about the sword he is holding, and Kurt tells her that it didn't come out as well as he was hoping, but she can activate a magic spell imbued in it by holding it above her head. Liz says that she likes the sword a lot, so Kurt gifts it to her. She thanks him for that, but Kurt thinks that her cheerfulness is just an act, and she is really scared all the time. He decides to finally confront her and asks if there is someone after her life. Liz gets sad on hearing that and affirms the question, saying that she is causing a lot of trouble for her friends because of that. She says that even now, Ulysses went to the western ruins to stop the people after her life. Kurt suddenly remembers that he once went to the same ruins with his former party, and it was the perfect place for drawing on the walls. He thinks that the one after Liz's life is the small graffiti monster that Ulysses told him about, and he wonders if he is so weak that he can't even fight it. Liz tells him that she also wants to fight her enemies so that her friends don't have to risk her life, and Kurt sympathizes with her because he also feels powerless. He tells Liz that they should go to the ruins and defeat the monster themselves, but she is not so sure about it. She tells him that the monsters have surrounded the city from all directions, but Kurt tells her that they can always find new ways to reach the ruins and deal with the enemies. Liz gets dressed to go to the ruins because she needs to serve the look before fighting. She then looks at the knife that Kurt just gave her and remembers that he told her that it has a magic spell that activates when she holds it over her head. She is curious about the magic, so she unsheaths the knife and holds it over her head, but nothing happens, and then Kurt tells her that they should leave now. However, just as she turns around, she sees something surprising. Meanwhile, Ulysses and Allraid fight through hordes of zombies as they try to reach the ruins. They keep getting overwhelmed by the zombies and other monsters, even though the vice captain is distracting most of them. Ulysses thinks that they need to hurry up and find the source of all these monsters when suddenly, she hears Allraid groan in pain. She turns around to see him injured, but as she tries to go and help him, a bunch of monsters gang up on her. She is about to reach for a magic crystal when suddenly, the adventurers hired by their workshop come to support her, while Cans and Danjo help fight the monsters, while Cena confirms that the monsters are indeed coming from the ruins ahead and they must be located somewhere underground. Ulysses tells everyone to close their eyes before throwing a magic crystal on the ground to destroy the monsters using its light, and then the group heads towards the ruins. Ulysses gives Allraid a test tube, telling him that it is just soup made from medicinal herbs, but as soon as he drinks it, his wounds heal without even leaving a scar. Allraid can't believe that this medicine is just soup, but the adventurers tell him that he will keep being surprised by what Kurt can do. Just then, a bunch of monsters come out of the ruins and Cans tells Ulysses to leave them to his team. The three of them charge towards the monsters while Ulysses and Allraid slip past them and enter the ruins. Meanwhile, Marl starts feeling really weak, and she figures out that if the demon uses her power to summon monsters for 2 more waves, she will die. The demon decides to check the progress of his minions and finds them surrounding the vice commander, who uses a magic crystal to destroy them completely. He doesn't understand what is happening, and even Marl is confused because she has never seen a magic crystal that can do that. The demon then finds that 2 people have entered the ruins, and he thinks that they deserve a personal welcome from him. Meanwhile, Ulysses and Allraid reach the center of the ruins, and they find the room from where monsters are being spawned. Ulysses throws a magic crystal on the floor and the monsters vanish, but she is not sure if she dealt with the root of the problem. As the 2 of them walk ahead, the demon comes up to greet them. Ulysses says that he is the last boss that they need to defeat and charges towards him. She tosses a magic crystal in air and then slashes it, creating an intense burst of light. However, that is not enough to exorcise the demon, and he tells Ulysses that her attack would have been very dangerous for him if he didn't have infinite lives. Just then, Allraid attacks the demon lord, who doesn't even bother dodging because his wounds heal instantly. He tells Ulysses and Allraid that they are not bad for humans, and then shows them a visual of the knights struggling against the monsters. The demon calls them stupid for risking their life to protect the city and the princess, but Allraid declares that his knights will never let a demon do whatever he pleases. The demon decides to defeat them completely and summons some powerful monsters, saying that the adventurers at the gate of the ruins won't be able to stop it, and the monster will eventually reach the city wall and destroy it. Ulysses and Allraid attack the demon while he is in the middle of his villainous monologue, but the demon just picks up its head and reattaches it like he is made of Lego. Ulysses starts getting afraid now because no matter what they do, they can't seem to hurt the demon, and if his monsters really breach the city's defenses, a lot of innocent people will die. The demon enjoys the look of despair on her face and tells her that her fears will soon come true. Meanwhile, Marl is really exhausted and hungry in the summoning room. She doesn't have the strength to run away or to erase the magic circle, and she wishes to eat Kurt's homemade cooking one last time. Suddenly, she hears Kurt's voice saying that they should dig around here, and she thinks that she is hallucinating him. However, moments later, Kurt breaks through the floor of the ruins and climbs up. He is surprised to see Marl there, and she is surprised as well. Kurt then helps Lies up, and Marl thinks that Kurt knows that she is behind the assassination attempt on the princess, and he brought the princess here to convince her otherwise. Lies asks Kurt about the woman lying on the magic circle, and he tells her that she is a nun and the healer of his former party. Marl says that she is a former nun because she has been exiled from the church, and Kurt asks if this is why she was targeting Lies. Marl decides to tell him the truth that Bishop Tristan is behind this, but Kurt doesn't even hear her out and asks if she went crazy because of being fired and started drawing weird circles everywhere. Marl is confused, but Lies hears everything, and she realizes that the true enemy is the bishop. Kurt lashes at Marl for graffitiing everywhere, and Lies thanks him for getting angry on her behalf. Marl doesn't even understand what the two morons are talking about, and then Kurt asks her where is Ulysses, because she should have come here already to clean this stuff up. Marl tells him she is upstairs, and Kurt decides to meet with her. He tells Lies to stay here because she would be safe, but she volunteers to go upstairs and meet up with Ulysses instead. She tells Kurt that he doesn't need to worry because the one targeting her is right here, and she has the knife he gave her earlier. As the princess leaves, Marl wonders how dumb can Kurt be to send her to her death, but then he prepares a mop to wipe the magic circle. Marl thinks that he can't do it, but Kurt cleans the magic circle with just one swipe, breaking it. The demon feels it too, and he is forced to dodge the attack from Ulysses and Allraid because he is no longer invincible. They both realize it, and Ulysses tries to use a magic crystal against him, but the demon quickly hits it away from her hand. The demon declares that he will kill them quickly now, but just then Lies arrives there. Everyone is shocked to see her, but the demon doesn't waste any time and stabs her with a precise attack to her heart. Lies falls to the ground, and Ulysses panics. The demon laughs, saying that the princess was stupid enough to help him complete his job. But just then, Lies' body turns into butterflies made of light. Everyone is confused by what is happening, and then the real Lies appears behind Ulysses and Allraid. The demon can't believe that he just attacked an illusion because she felt like a real human, and Lies tells him that it is because of the knife that Kurt made for her. She says that the knife has the power to create perfect illusions that can fool absolutely everyone. The demon immediately attacks her again, but it turns out to be an illusion too. The real Lies appears right next to the magic crystal and shatters it, and the demon screams in pain as the light destroys him. Kurt hears the screaming from downstairs, and he wonders what the hell is going on. Meanwhile, the monsters summoned by the demon also vanish immediately after his death, and everyone feels relieved. However, Ulysses is angry at Lies for risking her life and coming to the ruins. She lashes out at her, and Lies apologizes, saying that she felt that she had to do something. And then Ulysses says that she doesn't need to apologize because she really saved their asses. Allraid agrees with her and thanks the princess for saving his life, but she tells him to stop acting so formally. She says that they both did a great job to protect the city and promises to reward them. And Allraid immediately asks for a huge amount of alcohol to party with his boys. Back in the basement, Kurt finishes cleaning up the magic circle and Marl feels really hungry because of the curse cast on her. Kurt hears her stomach rumbling and offers her some rice balls he made. Marl thinks that she will just puke it out right after eating because of the curse, but she still wants to taste Kurt's cooking one last time. She takes a bite of the rice ball and finds that it is incredibly delicious, and the next moment, her curse vanishes too. Marl can't believe it, but now it makes sense to her how Kurt could simply erase the magic circle. She realizes that it was Kurt who was protecting their party all along, and they took his kindness for granted. She begins crying tears of regret and apologizes to Kurt, and he tells her that it is fine since she has learned her lesson. Just then, Lies and Ulyssia arrive there, and before they can reach Marl, 2 spies from Mimiko pop out of the hole to arrest Marl. As they take her away, Marl hopes that Kurt will defend her, but he just promises to bring her favorite bread to her when she is in prison. After that, Lies and Kurt check up on each other and Ulyssia can't believe that these 2 clueless buffoons saved her. Anyway, she puts her arm around Kurt and tells her that they should head home. Later that night, a party is thrown for all the knights, and they keep eating food with full focus. Kurt gets worried because he cooked the food and to him, it seems that the knights are forcing themselves to eat the food because they are not even talking. He nervously asks if he should prepare something different, but Allraid tells him that he doesn't need to worry because the food is so delicious that the knights can't focus on anything else. Kurt is glad to hear that, and he thinks that the supervisor from his construction job is a nice dude. However, when he learns that he is actually the general of the city, he is really shocked. Allraid asks him if he likes this city and Kurt says that he really loves it because it is a nice place to be. He says that it must be because the general is so good at managing it. But then his assistant comes there and says that Allraid sucks at admin jobs. Allraid just elbows him into silence, and then suddenly, a fireworks show starts. Everyone is mesmerized by it and Kurt is glad to hear their reviews because he was the one who prepared the fireworks. Suddenly, Allraid and his assistant notice that their wounds from the battle today have healed and Kurt asks why are they so surprised because it is common sense that wounds vanish after a good meal. Soon after that, Kurt and others take a carriage to reach a nearby village, but he falls asleep during the journey and dreams of his childhood. 10 years ago, when he was a cute kid in his mysterious village, he met a dragon girl, who was the daughter of a traveling merchant that often came to their village. The young Kurt excitedly went to talk to her, but she didn't respond no matter what he said. He was about to cry, when suddenly, the girl named Hilda said that her father asked her not to talk to the people of this village because they are weirdos, and she may pick up strange habits from them. She declared that she was just talking out loud to herself and Kurt was really happy to hear that she was using a loophole to talk to him. Soon, they became good friends and Hilda completely forgot about her father's advice as she started playing with Kurt. They rode a golem to the nearby mountains because Kurt wanted to show her a rainbow-colored flower. But Hilda got down before him and ate some red berries that looked tasty. Unfortunately, the berries were poisonous and she immediately collapsed on the ground. Kurt rushed to her side and found what happened, but luckily, he knew how to create a medicine for the poison. With the determination to save Hilda, he created the medicine and then decided to feed it to her with a kiss. Just as he reaches this part, Ulyssia asks him to wake up because they are at their destination. Ulyssia then goes to talk to the village chief, who is freaked out because of the lack of water in the village. He says that they don't have enough to drink, and at this rate, they will never be able to grow crops to feed themselves. Ulyssia looks at the map and notices that there is a huge water reservoir in the nearby village, and they can connect it to this village. The village chief frantically tells her that he tried that, but the neighboring village refused to share any water with them, and now they have to rely on the power of their workshop to save everyone. Ulyssia returns to the inn after that, and she finds Danzo on guard duty while everyone else has gone uphill to help an old bird tamer with his back pain. Ulyssia thinks that is odd and over the top, but it is none of her business. She tells Danzo that she is going to the nearby village to negotiate sharing water with this one. But once she reaches there, she finds that they are in a terrible state too because their water reserves have almost dried up. As Ulyssia consoles their crying village chief, a bunch of villagers come running to inform her about an emergency at the top of the hill. Ulyssia immediately rushes there and finds a huge lake there. She runs to Sina and Cans, confused about why the villagers were crying about water when they have such a big lake. They tell her that the lake was not here a few moments ago, and as Kurt approaches them with a smile, Ulyssia immediately understands what happened. He tells her that he was taking care of some birds and they looked thirsty, so he drew some groundwater. He asks Ulysses if she finished her mission, and before she can give him an answer, the heads of the two villages come there. They fall to their knees and begin thanking Ulysses for saving them so quickly. She tries to console them, and Kurt thinks that Ulysses is amazing because she solved the problem in the time it took him to dig a well. With that, the party returns to their base. The villagers have gifted them a lot of eggs, and Kurt starts thinking about what he will make using them. At the same time, Lise visits the house of a noble named Margrave Takon, who honestly should have been named Jabba the Hutt instead. While they have dinner and make small talk, Lise thinks that Takon has authority and power equal to a duke, but his finances are not always in the best condition, so he has to rely on external help. He also has great connections to nearby kingdoms, and he wants to win her over to his side to further strengthen his position. Lise plans to be sharp and cunning to beat Takon at his own game, and tells him that today, she is not here as a princess, but as a representative of her Aetlier Meister. Takon says that he heard that they used up all the magic stones that can wipe all monsters in a range of 500 meters. Lise knows that he is just trying to get information on Kurt, so she says that the stones were not as powerful as the rumors made them to be, and Takon immediately changes his strategy. He says that the town they are stationed in has no name yet, and Lise affirms, saying that the governor will decide the town's name once they are appointed. It is Takon's job to nominate the governor, but he tells that he is having difficulty finding the right person for the job because the town is near demon territory and the knights there are also hard to control. That is why he wants to appoint the Aetlier Meister as the governor instead. Lise panics on hearing that because Kurt doesn't even know he is the Aetlier Meister yet, and if he becomes the governor, he will have to come out in public. She says that she can't decide the matter herself, and Takon replies that since she is representing the Aetlier Meister, she should have the power to do so. Lise panics even more on hearing this, and then Allraid also supports Takon's suggestion to make the Aetlier Meister as the new governor because he doesn't know they are talking about Kurt. Lise still tries to change Takon's mind, but he asks her if there is any personal flaw in the Meister that makes him unsuitable for the job. Lise gets triggered on hearing this and declares that their Aetlier Meister is the most skilled and noble person in the entire world. But only after speaking that, she realizes that she got played and Takon got what he wanted. Once Lise returns to the mansion, she tells Ulysses about what happened and gets scolded for being fooled. Lise feels bad about that, but there was no way she would let someone slander Kurt's name. She then asks Ulysses where is Kurt right now, and she replies that he is raising a child. Lise panics on hearing that Kurt has a baby, but she is ready to adopt the kid to be with him forever. Ulysses sighs at this beta simp and tells her that they actually got some eggs for helping a village, and one of them turned out to be fertilized, so Kurt is looking after it right now. Lise is relieved to hear that, and then Ulysses says that knowing Kurt, a bird who gives golden eggs will come out of the egg. Lise agrees with her, and just then, they hear Kurt screaming that the egg has hatched. On the other hand, Mimiko is overwhelmed with paperwork and reports from her spies. She finds that the bishop who made a deal with the demon was assassinated inside the church, which makes her believe that he was not actually the one pulling the strings. She has not yet killed Marl because she wants to keep her alive for Kurt. Speaking of Kurt, she receives a report about what hatched out of his egg, and she completely loses her mind on reading it. Back in the mansion, Lise and Ulysses go to see what came out of the egg, and they can't believe their eyes when they see Kurt holding a girl looking exactly like him in his arms. Ulysses holds a meeting immediately, and everyone is aghast to see Kurt holding the girl. He says that she hatched from the egg, looking like this, surprising them even more. The girl then suddenly starts playing with Kurt and calls him Papa, and Ulysses decides to break the harsh news to him. She says that even a moron like Kurt should know that humans are not born of eggs, and he affirms. She says that the girl is probably a monster that made herself look like him to fool him. Ulysses tells Kurt that the girl will probably kill him and everyone else if they don't deal with her immediately, but he refuses to let her go. Ulysses takes the girl away from him, but Kurt latches onto her arm, saying that the girl is not a bad monster and he can raise her. Ulysses refuses to be swayed by his words, but then the girl calls her mommy, and she immediately folds. She begins picturing a married life with Kurt, but an angry Lise snaps her out of it. She takes the girl in her arms, and when she calls her mom as well, Lise loses her senses and drops her. Luckily, Sina catches her and the girl calls her sis, which makes her happy too. While Lies and Ulyssia try to get the girl to call them mommy once again, Can stops them, saying that his party will also help in upbringing the girl, and they will make sure that she doesn't turn into a bad person. Well, Ulyssia can't say no to that after everything that happened, and she agrees to let the girl stay. Lies says that they should give her a name now, and they start brainstorming immediately. Both Lies and Ulyssia want the girl's name to be a mix of their name with Kurt's, but when the girl wakes up and calls for her mommy, they both rush to her side and forget their differences. They are willing to compromise now, and Kurt is impressed by the girl's ability to bring peace to everyone. He suggests that they name her Akiri, because in the language of his village, it means an area that connects 3 points, and the girl is connecting the 3 of them. Both Ulyssia and Lies like the idea, and they go ahead with the naming. They call the girl by her new name, and Akiri is delighted to hear that. Later that night, Ulyssia is sleeping with Akiri in her lap, when suddenly, one of Mimiko's spies arrives there. She wakes up and hands him an envelope containing the sample of Akiri's hair and saliva to hand over to Mimiko, so that they can learn more about her. The next day, Kurt makes a playroom for Akiri, but Ulyssia makes him design it so that it can double as a prison. The walls are made of mithril, there are no windows, and the door cannot be opened from inside either. She feels bad for making Kurt create such a place for Akiri, but she wants to take no chances until she receives a report from Mimiko about the girl's biological origin. Akiri plays with Sina and then asks Kurt and Ulyssia to join her too, but they tell her that they have work to do. Kurt promises that he will come to play with her as soon as the work is over, and asks her to be a good girl and play with Sina. Soon, Kurt and Ulyssia head to their next job, and seeing him look a bit down, Ulyssia encourages Kurt that they should finish the job quickly so that they can return to Akiri. He affirms, and just then, they hear Akiri's voice too. They immediately check inside the carriage to find Akiri there, and Ulyssia's jaw drops on seeing this. She asks the girl how can she be here, and she replies that she went whoosh and came here. Neither of them understand what she means, but Ulyssia panics, wondering what should they do now. Kurt says they should return to the workshop because everyone must be worried, but just then Ulyssia sees the spy from yesterday. The spy disguises herself to look like an ordinary person, and Ulyssia goes to talk to her, telling Kurt that she will ask the woman to relay a message to the workshop. Kurt thinks that Ulyssia is really responsible, and even when she was trying to take Akiri away from him, she was just thinking about his safety. He wonders how can he help her because if Akiri turns out to be a monster, he won't be able to do anything. He gets sad on thinking that, but Ulyssia returns, saying that neither of them are wrong about the girl yet, and they should try their best to make sure she turns out to be a good person. With that, they head to the next village, where an old man welcomes them, calling them the team of heroes that will defeat the Demon Lord and bring peace to the world. While Kurt and Akiri immediately jump in on the Delulu old man's bandwagon, Ulyssia freaks out because she can't even make sense of what he is saying. Ulyssia tells Kurt to calm down when she is the one panicking. She says that the quest didn't even mention anything like this, and just then a pretty blonde girl arrives there to clear the confusion. She tells Ulyssia that she was the client who put in the request, and the old man here is her father-in-law, who always wanted to be one of the important NPCs in the story who give important missions to heroes. She apologizes on his behalf, saying that he has become senile lately, and thus he has lost his inner filter that stopped him from saying stupid stuff like this. The woman then remarks that she wasn't expecting a newlywed couple to come here for the mission, and both Kurt and Ulyssia get flustered. Akiri, however, confidently calls them her mom and dad, making matters worse. Kurt panics, thinking that Ulyssia will feel insulted that she is being called his wife, and even worse, she is being called a mother when she is so young. He decides to finish the job quickly so that they are not embarrassed further, and asks the client about the mission, and she tells him that her pigs are not eating their feed properly nowadays. One look at them and Kurt can tell that the pigs are just tired because of heat, and he decides to make some feed that will help them beat the heat. The woman thanks him and decides to take her father-in-law for a walk, and then Kurt begins looking around for Ulyssia, who is still bright red and frozen stiff because she was called Kurt's wife. However, this idiot with the emotional intelligence of a dead starfish thinks that she is not moving because she is mad. Anyway, he decides to make the pig feed while Ulyssia is feeling giddy that despite the age and height difference, the woman earlier saw him as Kurt's wife. She begins thinking about having a child with him for real, but then slaps herself out of her imagination. She tries to calm herself down, thinking that she just needs to protect Kurt from the world. But as she sees him working happily, she feels a sharp ache in her heart. Just then, a huge blue dragon flies over her and Ulysses panics because it is heading right towards Kurt and Akiri. She chases after the dragon and yells at Kurt to warn him. However, as the dragon comes down, Kurt asks Ulysses to stop and put her sword back. She is still worried about Akiri when the dragon lands in front of her, but instead of attacking anyone, it silently starts eating the pig feed. Ulysses can't understand what is going on and Kurt says that she might not know it because she is from the city. But in villages, it is common for dragons to come and ask for a share when someone is preparing animal feed. Akiri asks Kurt if this is just a big doggy, and he tells her that it is actually a baby dragon. While they are talking about the dragon, Ulysses suddenly smells blood, and she decides to investigate the matter alone. She soon finds one of Mimiko's spies on the ground, unconscious and bleeding out. She wonders who could have done this when she notices someone hiding behind the bushes. Ulysses immediately attacks the person, and Kurt comes running towards her on hearing the sound. He asks her if everything is fine, but Ulysses tells him to take Akiri and run away. He is confused, but then the person fighting Ulysses comes out of the bushes. Ulysses steps in between Kurt and the demonic Wolverine baddie, who tells them to hand over the kid. Ulysses thinks that she is after Akiri, but Kurt thinks that she is here for the baby dragon. He asks the demon if she is a dragon hunter, but Ulysses can tell that she is not a dragon hunter, but something worse. She once again tells Kurt to run, and as he tries to protest, the baby dragon grabs his collar and flies away with him. Ulysses is not really surprised that Kurt managed to tame a dragon in such a short time, but she has no time to be distracted as the assault mommy attacks her. She soon realizes that she is not strong enough to face her and gets kicked in the gut. The demon approaches her to finish the job and luckily, Ulysses manages to get away using a rake as a prop. She then asks the demon that when she asked them to hand over the child, was she talking about the baby dragon or Akiri? However, the woman remains silent and then tells her that there is no point in knowing that now because she is going to be dead soon. Ulysses realizes that she can't even buy time at this rate, and then the demon fighter attacks, quickly disarming her. She then slashes Ulysses, making her fall to her knees, but as she returns to finish her for good, Ulysses throws a magic crystal at her that explodes when the demon tries to cut it. The explosion turns the whole area upside down, and Ulysses is confident that the fight is over now. However, the demon mommy comes out of the ground immediately, and this time, her horns are clearly visible. Ulysses panics when she realizes the true nature of her enemy, and she loses all hope of winning against her. She wonders why a demon would come out in the open, and the demon mommy says that she is indeed powerful to have given her such a deep wound. She says that now she understands how Ulysses and her group defeated a demon lord, and that makes her realize that she was watching them even before the city was attacked. She wonders if the demon is here for Akiri or for Kurt because frankly speaking, he is a kid himself. She realizes that she doesn't have any more weapons and at this rate, she is going to die. She just hopes that Kurt reaches the workshop quickly and stays safe there because eventually Mimiko and others will realize what happened here. Ulysses is about to accept her fate when suddenly, she hears Kurt calling her name as he flies towards her. She is aghast on seeing him do something so stupid. She wonders if he is planning to fight by controlling the dragon, but he can't do that very well right now and gets tossed down a tree instead. Ulysses walks towards him, asking what the hell is he doing here, and Kurt replies that he is here to escape, but he can't do that without her. Suddenly, a whole bunch of pigs come running towards them, and they get on one of them to escape the demon. Ulysses is still angry at Kurt, asking if it is normal in his village to do something as reckless as this, and he replies that it is his first time doing something like this. He declares that a man should never hesitate from making reckless decisions to protect a woman precious to him, and Ulysses finds herself falling even harder for this smooth talker. But that also makes her sad because she knows Kurt doesn't mean that romantically. Suddenly, a fireball comes towards them from the front and hits the pigs, forcing Kurt and Ulysses on the ground. The demon mommy is in front of them, ready with another fireball, and Ulysses decides to borrow Kurt's dagger to fight against her. She staggers as she walks ahead, determined to protect Kurt even if it means losing her life. As the demon mommy shoots the fireball, Ulysses lifts the dagger, trying to use a special technique that can cut magic attacks even though she has never succeeded at it even once. She thinks she will be able to do it since everything is on the line right now. But she can't manage to do that. As she thinks she is going to be burnt alive, Akiri suddenly arrives there and jumps on her head. As she tightly hugs Ulyssia, the fireball suddenly vanishes and everyone notices the demon woman looking incredibly panicky. Ulyssia wonders if she cancelled the attack herself and then thinks if it was because Akiri was in danger. She asks the demon about it, but she starts coughing blood and retreats. Ulyssia tries following her, but she is too weak and injured to do that, and immediately collapses. Kurt and Akiri check on her as he gives her some medicine, and she immediately starts feeling better. As Ulyssia tells Akiri that she is fine, she suddenly springs up, asking how the hell did Akiri fall on top of her. Kurt tells her that she didn't fall or fly, but rather teleported above her. This surprises Ulyssia because the only way to do so is using big teleportation stones. No magician has succeeded in teleporting through a spell, but Akiri did. Ulyssia asks her if she can do that again, but Akiri cannot do that. Kurt is also concerned about the woman who attacked them, and Ulyssia wishes that they don't see her again. Just then, a pig arrives behind them, looking incredibly sad and hurt. Kurt panics, realizing that his job was to take care of the pigs, and he immediately heals all of them before the client arrives. Soon, the pigs are back in their pen, looking as healthy as ever. The blonde woman is really happy to see this, and she thanks Ulyssia before asking her where her husband is. Ulyssia makes an excuse for Kurt, who has gone to return the baby dragon to its parents, but on the way, he sees something and decides to change his plans. Meanwhile, Ulyssia and Akiri begin to head home, when suddenly, Kurt comes towards them, still riding the dragon. Ulyssia asks why has he not returned the dragon to its parents yet, and then, she notices the demon woman unconscious on the dragon's back. She experiences cosmic levels of confusion as she wonders what is going on, and then Kurt begins to explain the story. He says that when he spotted the woman from the sky, he landed the dragon to help her. He found that she was heavily injured but still breathing, so he decided to make some medicine to help her. The woman woke up and called him a fool for helping an enemy, but Kurt told her that since she cancelled her attack and did not kill Ulyssia and Akiri, he has enough reasons to save her. He then finished the medicine and tossed it to her, telling her that she would die if she didn't take it. The demon woman took the medicine, but she immediately started feeling weird. She fell to the ground and Kurt apologized to her, claiming that he mixed a sleeping drug in the medicine because he is a coward who can't face her properly. He told her that she would be out cold for at least 3 days, and then lashed at her for attacking a dragon that was attached to a human. The demon woman was confused about what he meant, but Kurt thought that she might not be able to understand him. He thought out loud that just because this woman has horns too, he is not the same as his childhood friend Hilda. As soon as the demon heard that name, she tried to reach Kurt to talk, but the medicine kicked in just then, and she passed out, so he carried her here. Back to the present, everyone returns to the mansion, and Kurt tells Akiri to apologize to Sina and others because they must be worried when she suddenly vanished earlier. Just then, Sina and Lies come running to greet Akiri, and Ulyssia just watches them from a distance. Another person comes out of the mansion after them, and he gently welcomes Ulyssia and Kurt. They wonder who the hell is he, and then Lies introduces him as their Eitlier Meister, shocking both of them. The fake Eitlier Meister then introduces himself as Rikudo, and Kurt is already in awe of him. He introduces himself as well, and Rikudo thanks him for creating such a wonderful building. Meanwhile, Ulyssia is really suspicious of this new guy, and she immediately sends Kurt to the kitchen to prepare their food and asks Sina to take Akiri to the playroom. As they both leave, Ulyssia turns to Rikudo, but he pins her against the carriage. She is not impressed by his audacity and tries hitting him with the Nutcracker 3000, but her kick passes right through his body. Ulyssia finally realizes what is going on and tells Lies that this is not funny. The princess just smirks because Ulyssia was sharp enough to figure out that Rikudo is just an illusion that she made using Kurt's dagger. Ulyssia says that the dagger is really special if it can create illusions of people that don't even exist, and Lies says that Rikudo is how she imagines Kurt to look when he turns 20. She erases the illusion with that, and just then, Ulyssia gets a message from Mimiko, who says that she will come to give them the report of Akiri's background check soon. The day comes soon, and everyone stares eagerly at Mimiko, wondering what she is going to tell them. However, she came here just to eat the food prepared by Kurt, because their investigation turned out to be a total failure. She then explains that the hair and saliva sample that Yuli got had only human DNA, but they also found some magic stone-like stuff inside Akiri's nails, and that had the power of spatial magic that is not found in humans at all. Mimiko says that the space magic was used during the Age of Creation, but now it is lost to time and no one can use it. Kurt asks her if this means that Akiri is a monster, but Mimiko can't be sure of that either. However, the fact that they don't know anything about Akiri makes her incredibly dangerous. She says that the best thing they can do is seal her teleportation magic and lock her up in one of her labs, but Kurt strictly refuses to do so. Mimiko asks for his reasons and Kurt asks if she thinks he is dangerous. She replies that since they are friends, she doesn't think he will attack her. Kurt replies that his reason is the same, because he never feels any sort of danger from Akiri. He doesn't care if she is a human or not, because he knows that she is a kind girl who won't hurt anyone. He declares that Akiri is staying with them, and Yuli agrees with him, saying that if they don't have any proof that the girl is a monster, they can't treat her like one. Lies supports the statement too, telling Mimiko that she won't let anyone take their daughter away. Mimiko understands their reasons and asks them to take care of Akiri, and then she asks them about the demon they captured, whom Kurt still thinks of as a dragon hunter. Kurt tells her that she is being held in a prison in the basement, and as Mimiko goes to deal with her, he asks her not to throw the poor woman in prison. Mimiko doesn't tell him that the poor woman is actually a demon, the worst enemies of humanity, and she is going to suffer a worse fate than being thrown in a prison. Mimiko takes Yuli with her to the prison, where they wake up the demon woman and ask her if she can speak. The woman talks in phrases, saying that warriors speak only what is necessary, and Mimiko realizes that she talks like a moron because of her duty as a warrior and not because she is dumb. The demon woman is offended by that and tries to burn her with magic, but the room made by Kurt has anti-magic properties and it blocks out the fire. Mimiko tells the demon that she can't do anything and then asks if she has any teammates nearby. The woman tells her that a loser must obey the winner, but it was Kurt who defeated her, and so she will only answer the questions he asks. Mimiko sighs as she brings Kurt and Lies to the room. Kurt immediately asks the demon lady how she is feeling, and she complains about the rope around her arms. He tells her that they can't remove it, but she cuts him off mid-sentence and asks Kurt if he really knows Hilda. He affirms, but Yuli is curious about the name. Kurt tells her that Hilda was the daughter of a merchant who often came to their village, and she was a horned person like the woman here. The demon then asks Kurt if Hilda was wearing a griffin crest, and he affirms that she was. The demon woman gets a burst of energy on hearing that and tells Kurt that she wants to save Hilda, who is currently being held as a prisoner under the castle of Margrave Takon. Everyone is shocked to hear this, and Kurt says that they should leave to save Hilda immediately. However, Yuli doesn't trust the demon, and she thinks she is just trying to play with Kurt's emotions. She asks why did she attack Akiri if she wants to save Hilda, and the demon woman says that she was investigating Takon, but he was investigating them, so she followed them. It was there that she saw Akiri suddenly teleporting inside the carriage, and she thought that she could use her power to save Hilda. Kurt immediately believes her, but Yuli reminds him again that they have no proof. The demon woman tells them to look at her pendant, and as Yuli pulls it out from underneath those massive mountains, Kurt immediately identifies it as Hilda's pendant. The demon tells them that Hilda gave it to her, and when she saw Yuli using Kurt's dagger that had the same griffin mark on it, she stopped her attack. Kurt says that Hilda had given him the dagger, and now he has proof to believe the demon. Even Mimiko seems to believe her now, and she tells the demon that they will save Hilda for her, but she has to remain here. Kurt also asks the demon lady to stay in the room, and she tells him that her name is Saul, so he can call that. Kurt is glad to get on a first-name basis with her, but just then, Akiri teleports between them. Everyone freaks out, but they get calm quickly. Kurt then goes to Mimiko because he doesn't know how they can save Hilda, and she immediately calls a meeting without Kurt to come up with a plan. Thanks to her spy network, she has the map of Takon's mansion, and she says that his wife and daughter are both dead. There is a room in the mansion where no one else, but he is allowed to go, and he has been seen taking food there often. Saul says that she tried to enter the room, but could not, and even Mimiko's spies failed to enter it. Lies comes up with an idea to use the illusions to make it seem like a thief is using magic to go through the wall, and that will make Takon panic and open the door himself. Lies plans to use the fake Aetlier Meister Rikudo for the job, and everyone thinks that it is a good idea. Yuli is worried that they might need to leave Kurt alone in the workshop with a demon, but Lies plans to take him along too. She explains that Takon is organizing a 3-day festival in his territory, and that will be the perfect chance to take Rikudo to him under the guise on introducing the new Aetlier Meister, and at the same time, they can tell Kurt that they need to research about this area's culture at the festival. Those two things are just excuses because both Lies and Yuli want to go on a festival date with Kurt. They say that the plan will be executed on the third day when the knights are executed, but that is also done to ensure that both of them get one full day with Kurt before the festival is shut down. Soon, the group departs for Takon's territory and Kurt starts talking with Rikudo. He apologizes for dragging him into their rescue mission, but Rikudo is just a reflection of Lies' thoughts, and he says that as a noble, it is his duty to stop nobles from doing evil deeds. Both Yuli and Lies freak out on hearing that, but when Rikudo asks Kurt to keep it a secret that he is from the royal family, they calm down a bit. Later, they reach their inn and Rikudo leaves first to prepare for his meeting with Takon. And then Yuli tells Kurt that she will be investigating Takon's mansion tomorrow while he takes care of Lies and Akiri. Kurt volunteers to help her, but Lies tells him that he can't do that because he is supposed to study the market with her. She emotionally blackmails him, saying that Akiri is also really excited to see her first festival with her dad, and Kurt agrees to go to the market with them. The next day, Akiri and Lies enjoy their trip to the festival, and Lies asks Kurt that he must have seen a lot of festivals while he was traveling with his adventure party. Kurt tells her that they went to a lot of cities and festivals, but he was always stuck doing maintenance work and guarding the carriage while other members partied hard. Lies pities him, but Kurt thinks it is normal for the person in charge of chores not to enjoy festivals. However, he wants to be a good dad and give Akiri the things he could never have, which is why he agreed to come to the festival. Lies suddenly takes his hand, telling him that he should enjoy this festival to make up for all the times he didn't, and Kurt is really happy to hear that. However, he doesn't know that Lies is planning to confess her feelings to him after their date is over. The three of them enjoy their time in the festival, and when the evening arrives, Lies leads them to a garden so that Akiri can play with other kids and she can have some quiet time with Kurt. She thinks that Kurt will be in a great mood because he enjoyed himself at the festival today, and when she confesses to him, he will become even more happy. However, when she goes to him, she finds a serious expression on his face. Lies wonders what is happening, but then she realizes that they are in front of Takon's castle and Kurt is staring straight at it. She realizes that she forgot to take this factor into consideration and immediately asks Kurt if he is worried about Hilda. He tries assuring her that he is fine because everyone has promised to save Hilda, and he trusts them. However, he feels guilty that he can't do anything to help. Lies begins counting the incredible things he has done, but Kurt doesn't know how special he is, and he says that anyone could have done them. Lies wonders how can she convince him to stop underestimating himself, and she realizes that confessing to him right now will not be the best thing. So she tells him that she deeply respects and adores him, and everyone else at the workshop is the same. She tells him that all of them like him a lot, and that is the reason they are here to help Hilda. Kurt is moved to tears on hearing this and says that he also likes everyone a lot, and that is why he wants to be of more help to them. Lies promises that they will keep helping each other in the future, but just then Akiri calls Kurt because she is hungry, ending their emotional moment. As Kurt rushes towards her, Lies thinks that she missed a golden chance to confess to him. But it is all good since she saw his heartfelt smile, and she promises herself that she will confess her feelings soon. The next day, it is Yuli's turn to go on a date with Kurt, and before leaving, she stares at the sword that he recently made for her after she lost her sword in the fight against the demon. He mines some mithril and adamantite for that and asks to borrow the forge of a local dwarf blacksmith. The blacksmith laughed at Kurt for saying that he would make a sword out of an alloy of the two ultra-rare metals, but Kurt stood on business. The sword he made was strong and sharp enough to cut through a boulder with ease, and the blacksmith reacted like he just saw the work of the god of weapon making, and immediately left on a journey to improve his skills. Yuli suddenly comes out of her trip down the memory lane and gets excited, thinking about her date with Kurt. Luckily for her, Akiri was too exhausted from running around the market yesterday, so she is still sleeping, and now Yuli is alone with Kurt. She begins thinking how she will use her experience as an adventurer to take Kurt to the best spots in the city, and that way, she will show him that she is better than Lies. Just then, she hears some commotion nearby and finds some thugs trashing a poor guy's shop. She decides to ignore it because she is not letting someone else's problems spoil her date, but unfortunately, Kurt has other plans. He immediately walks up to the thugs and tells them to stop harassing the shopkeeper. He asks them to state their reasons for damaging his shop, and as the jerks begin arguing with him, Yuli sighs, realizing that she was not destined to have a normal date with Kurt. Anyway, the thugs tell Kurt that the meat buns this shop was selling tasted like shit, which they know because they eat that a lot, and they are just helping other people by making sure that they don't accidentally buy it. Kurt decides to be the judge of that, and he immediately buys a meat bun from the man. He tastes it and says that it is really good and the ingredients used for it have been selected very carefully. The little pineapple dude pushes Kurt back, telling him to stop acting like he is Gordon Ramsay, but Yuli is there to hold him. She tells the thugs that Kurt is not a food critic, but he works at an atelier, and that is enough qualification to judge anyone. The thugs get nervous because they know they shouldn't pick a fight with an atelier, and they immediately run away. The man thanks Kurt for his help, but he has been seriously injured by the assholes. Kurt finds that he has a few broken bones, and Yuli says that his medicine will take care of that quickly. However, Kurt tells her that they should take him to the hospital nearby because that will be better than giving him medicine made by an amateur like him. Before Yuli can say anything else, Kurt picks up the injured man and runs away to the hospital, further ruining their date. She is on the verge of crying, but then the shopkeeper's daughter starts crying for real, and she decides to comfort her first. Just then, a merchant passes by, telling people to buy sweet cactus juice, and Yuli immediately identifies her as one of Mimiko's spies. She goes to the spy who begins telling her about a cooking competition that is going to be held today, and the Gargel restaurant has been the champion for the past 2 years. However, this year, they felt threatened by the small shop that sells really delicious meat buns, and they hired some thugs to harass them. Yuli is pissed as she realizes that the bastards at the Gargel restaurant are the reason her date got ruined, but she thinks that once Kurt returns, the problem will be solved and they can resume. However, Kurt comes back with bad news. The shopkeeper was injured quite seriously, so he had to be admitted to the hospital for a full day, and he was really worried about his daughter and his shop. Yuli already knows where this is going, and soon enough, Kurt asks her if he can help the store for today. He has already promised the owner that he will look after the shop, and Yuli can't bring herself to say no to him. She decides to get revenge against the Gargel restaurant and tells Kurt that she will help him cook some delicious meat buns to win the cooking competition. However, the girl named Luna tells them that they can't do that anymore because the thugs threw all the filling they had and now they can't make anything. Yuli tells her that they will manage it somehow and asks Kurt if he can cook some delicious meat buns with other available ingredients. He says that he can, and Yuli asks him to teach Luna how to make them, because she should be the one to win the competition and make her father proud. Luna gets ready to do that, and Yuli asks Kurt what ingredients should she buy. He asks her to buy as many sweet cacti as she can from the market, and also fetch the red beans that he won in a game yesterday. In the meantime, he plans to dig right in front of the stall, and Yuli asks him if he is sure he wants to dig the main street. Kurt tells her that it won't be a problem because he will dig fast and then patch up the hole too, but Yuli tells him to at least get a permit before doing that. Soon after that, the judges begin visiting all the shops taking part in the cooking competition, and they heavily praise the donuts of the Gargel restaurant. They are confident that he is going to win because no one is close to him. But more than that, the fatty who runs the restaurant has bought one of the judges, so no matter what, he will make sure he wins. Just then, some people begin praising some meat buns, and they recommend it to other people on the street as well. As soon as the fatty sees this, he panics because he was sure that the thugs had shut down the meat bun store. He immediately rushes to the stall's location, and he is stunned to see a huge queue there. Not only are they selling the buns really fast, there is also a hot spring next to their store, and Fatty can't figure out what the hell is going on. Just then, the judges also arrive there and Fatty tries telling them not to eat the buns the shop is selling because they are filled with a black gooey stuff, which can't be good for their health. Luna also arrives there at the same time, and she asks the judges to at least try the stuffed buns before coming up with a decision. The judge who has been bribed by Fatty picks up one bun and breaks it open to see the black filling inside it. Luna begins telling him that it is made from boiled red beans and sweet cactus jam, just like Kurt taught her. The judges are already impressed by the innovative recipe, and when they try the buns, they are really overjoyed. Fatty gets pissed at this, but the moment he tries the sweet buns, he is blown away by their taste and starts acting like he is in Food Wars. Just then, Yuli also arrives there to back Luna up, and she tells the judges that the dough of the sweet buns is really fluffy because they kneaded it using water that had baking soda dissolved in. Fatty asks her where did they even get that from, and Yuli says that they got it from the hot spring in front of them. Fatty asks how the hell did a hot spring appear here, and Yuli proudly tells him that Kurt dug it up right now. He refuses to believe that, but when Yuli reveals that Kurt works at an atelier, he quickly goes silent. He suddenly changes his strategy, saying that they must have dug the hot spring without permission, and they will surely get punished for it. However, Yuli shows her the permit that Lies helped them get directly from Takon. Fatty is dumbfounded now, and then Yuli explains that the hot spring Kurt dug up serves as a relaxing foot bath now, and it is going to be placed under the care of the city administration as a new tourist attraction. Fatty loses his mind on hearing all this, and he pulls the judge he bribed aside, telling him to do his job and convince the other two judges as well. However, the sweet bun has low-key opened his eyes, and the judge says that he cannot give this shop a bad review. He even tells Fatty that he doesn't need his money anymore as he rushes back. Just then, Fatty sees the three thugs he hired hiding behind a corner, and he immediately goes over to them. He orders them to crush the shop quickly, and even if they get thrown in jail because of that, he will get them out somehow. However, the bandits begin speaking in a very girly voice, saying that they are not going to let this slide. Fatty gets confused by this, but it turns out that the three thugs were just illusions created by Lies, who is there with two spies. She tells Fatty that the thugs he hired are already rotting in jail, and now it is his turn. Just then, Yuli also comes there to block her exit and says that they know he supplies the ingredients to Margrave Takon's castle, and he uses the scraps left from his kitchen in his restaurant. Moreover, she knows that he put crack in his food so that his customers get addicted and come to his shop more often. Fatty panics, asking how the hell do they know this, and Lies takes her appearance using the illusion dagger, saying that once she went to the Lord's kitchen disguised as him, the chefs there quickly blabbed out everything. Yuli tells him to surrender and get ready to rot in jail because of his crimes, but the desperate Fatty pulls out his knife and charges at Lies instead. Luckily, the spies pin him to the ground quickly, and Yuli tells him that he is going to get a life sentence for attacking a royal. He doesn't even get what that means till Lies properly introduces herself, and that fact completely breaks his spirit. After that, Lies teases Yuli about her failed date with Kurt, and she says that it doesn't matter now because Kurt is happy. Later that night, Takon learns about Fatty's arrest because he attacked Lies while she was enjoying the festival, and he is furious because they were on good terms. Moreover, his assistant says that their investigation revealed that all the chefs working in the castle were sent by Fatty, and that immediately disqualifies them from their job, so they were immediately fired. Takon panics on hearing this because Lies is going to visit him the next day and he can't welcome her without anyone to cook. The assistant already has a plan, and he suggests that they present the sweet buns that won the cooking tournament along with tea. Takon thinks that it is a good idea and tells his assistant to bring the chef who made the sweet buns to him the next morning. The next morning, Lies and Yuli get ready to visit Takon along with the fake Atelier Meister Rikudo. They have a map of Takon's castle on the table, and Yuli tells Kurt that they are going to rescue his friend Hilda today. She decides to let him on the plan as well, and says that the room where Hilda is captured is accessible only through the kitchen, because that will make it easy to get food to her without being noticed. Rikudo says that he will try to find proof that Hilda is being held prisoner there and then convince Takon to let her go. He asks Kurt to rest assured, and he says that he will go and help out Luna with her shop till her dad gets better. Once Kurt leaves, Lies suddenly appears behind Yuli because she had cast 3 illusions at the same time using her knife. They had already planned this out in advance, because there are 2 problems with using the illusions. First of all, Lies needs to draw the knife to use the illusions, but she can't meet Takon with an unsheathed weapon. Next, the illusions can't touch things, and that can create problems in a meeting. To solve both the problems, Lies decided to create an illusion of herself in addition to Rikudo, and then turn invisible to hold things when needed. With that, the 2 of them head out to meet Takon, and Lies creates the 2 illusions before she prepares to disappear. However, just then, they get a message from the spies that Kurt has been hired as a temporary chef of Takon's castle, and he has already reached the kitchen with Akiri by his side. Yuli and Lies are dumbfounded by this, and they don't know whether they should laugh or cry about the situation. A few minutes ago, Kurt was busy making stuffed buns in the stall, when he heard the girl Luna screaming outside. He immediately rushed to her side and found that she was just surprised because a knight ordered her to prepare 100 stuffed buns for Lord Takon immediately. Not only that, he asked her to come to the castle to work as a temporary chef for the day, and she could not do that because it was time to open up the stall. Kurt told her that she didn't need to worry about it because he would make the stuffed buns and then go to the castle. He gave the buns he had already baked to the knights to taste while they were waiting for him to get their order ready. And the moment the knights took the first bite, they achieved enlightenment. When Kurt returned with their order, he found all of them frozen stiff, and he thought they were just tired after being on duty for the last few days. However, the knight captain snaps out of his daze on hearing Kurt's voice and tells him that his fatigue from working overtime during the festival vanished after eating the buns. After that, Kurt leaves to the castle along with Akiri, when he suddenly realizes that the lord who has summoned him is actually Takon, who has kidnapped Hilda. Soon, he reaches the kitchen where an assistant collects the buns from him and tells him that they are going to be served to the princess. Despite practically living with lies, Kurt panics, thinking that the buns he made in a hurry might not be good enough to be presented to her, but the assistant tells him that there is no need to worry about that. He just asks Kurt to stay on standby till the meeting between Takon and Lies ends, and be ready to prepare anything they order. As the assistant leaves, Kurt's attention goes to the door at the end of the kitchen, and he starts thinking about Hilda. Meanwhile, Lies meets with Takon while keeping up the illusions, and Takon tries to brush up the incident where the fatty chef tried to attack her. While Lies keeps him busy, Yuli is stuck guarding the door, and she just hopes that Kurt doesn't do anything reckless. Back in the kitchen, Kurt is feeling uneasy because he really wants to open the door and find Hilda, but he also understands that he shouldn't take any risks that can derail their plan. However, controlling that urge is quite hard, and Akiri notices him looking worried. She asks Kurt what is bothering him, and he tells her that his friend might be behind the door, but he can't open it right now. Akiri gets excited on hearing this and tells him that she can take him beyond the door to search for his friend. She quickly hugs him, and the next moment, Kurt finds that they have teleported to the area behind the door. He is surprised that Akiri can teleport him along with her, but he still thinks that they should not be here. He tells Akiri that they should return, but she tells him that she can't do it. She gets upset because she wanted to search for his friend together, and as Kurt is wondering how to console her, he hears a woman's voice coming from the room next to him. He thinks that it must be Hilda, and decides to ignore all the warning bells ringing in his head to rescue her. He takes out a pin and uses it to unlock the door, but to his surprise, there is only an old woman inside the room. On the other hand, Takon tells Rikudo that he wants to appoint him the governor of the city, but Rikudo replies that he wants to ask him questions in private before accepting the position. The fake Lies leaves the room to give them privacy, and as soon as she leaves, Takon suddenly becomes more relaxed, unaware that the princess is watching everything. She is now sure that Takon has some business with the Eitlier Meister that he doesn't want her to know, so she decides to make him admit it. She controls Rikudo, and he asks Takon what he wants from him. Well, Jabba the Hutt really likes his direct attitude, and he asks Rikudo if he is interested in eternal youth. Meanwhile, Kurt and the old lady are surprised on seeing each other, and she asks him to come inside her room because she doesn't get guests too often. He is too stunned to say anything, but the woman invites Akiri in too. Akiri sees her looking unwell and asks if she is alright. The woman tells her that she hasn't been able to eat much recently, and Akiri hands her a stuffed bun that Kurt made. The woman takes it without hesitation, and she is amazed because she can taste it unlike other foods. Suddenly, Kurt realizes that the woman is not old but just looks old, and he asks her how is that possible. The woman is astonished that he can tell that just by looking at her. She begins marveling at his other abilities too and asks if he is some famous magician, but he replies that he is just a chore boy at the local Eitlier. Anyway, the woman thinks that he is really special, and she tells Kurt that he might be the only person who can save Hilda, who is trapped right under her room. Kurt freaks out on hearing that Hilda is under the room, and he decides to turn a hardened bread into a shovel to dig to the lower floor. The woman stops him and asks him to follow her into a secret passageway that will lead them to Hilda. Back at the meeting room, Lies is shocked to learn that Takon is after eternal youth. Rikudo says that eternal youth is the ultimate goal of Eitlier Meisters like him, but it is not something that can be done so easily. Takon tells him that humans live short lives, but other species like elves and demons live for a long time. There were experiments in the past to place demon and elf cells into human bodies so that they could become long-lived too, and Rikudo immediately says that the experiments failed, and they were banned because of the dangerous side effects. Takon says that he has full faith in Rikudo's abilities, and he might be the person to create a medicine to achieve eternal youth. Lies now realizes his full plan, and she wants to create the illusion of a thief to expose him. But before that, she wants more details. So Rakuto asks Takon why is he in such a hurry. He reminds him that holding demon cells and experimenting with them is legal both according to the laws of the country and the laws of the church. However, if Takon is desperate enough to reveal his intentions to a complete stranger, he must be short on time. He says that Takon doesn't look like he needs anything in life by living longer, and there must be someone else he wants to use the medicine on. Takon refuses to answer that question and says that he just needs the medicine, and Lies decides that there is no point in questioning him any further. So she starts part 2 of the plan and makes her clone outside scream loudly. Immediately after that, Yuli opens the door and lets the clone in, telling Takon that some thieves broke into the mansion, and she tried to fight them off, but they rushed to the kitchen. Takon panics on hearing that, and he tells Rakuto and Lies to stay in the room. He asks Yuli to protect them at all costs and tells her not to leave the room. He runs out with that, but Lies follows him while keeping up her invisibility. She soon reaches the hidden area and Takon panics even more on seeing the door to the room open. As he enters inside, he begins calling the name Famil, and that confuses Lies because that is the name of Takon's daughter. He gets really devastated as he sees that she is not in the room, and while he goes inside the secret passageway, Lies decides to check out the room. She finds a gray hair on the bed and then enhances her senses to find more traces. She suddenly smells Kurt's scent, and even though she wants to immediately rush to his side, she decides to meet with Yuli first. Meanwhile, Famil leads Kurt and Akiri to the room where Hilda is being kept prisoner. Kurt apologizes to his friends for ruining their plan and then opens the heavy door to see Hilda tied up in chains. She immediately recognizes him as the boy she met in the village, and Kurt is really glad that she still remembers him. He tells her that he will save her now, but Famil has got him covered. She immediately deactivates the chains holding Hilda, and Kurt rushes to her side. However, once he reaches closer, he realizes that she has not changed at all, even though it has been 10 years since they last saw each other. He keeps trying to find at least some manner in which she has become different, but he can't, and in the end, he just tells Hilda that she looks the same as ever. She immediately punches him, saying that it is his fault because she hasn't been able to grow after he fed her that medicine in the mountains. She starts hitting him, saying that not only that, he also left the village without telling her, and she will make him pay for everything. Kurt keeps apologizing, but then Akiri steps up for him, telling Hilda to stop being mean to her dad. This makes Hilda even angry because after turning her into a lowly forever, he went ahead and had a daughter. Kurt explains that Akiri was born from an egg, so he didn't really do any baby-making stuff, and Hilda doesn't find it hard to believe. She then tells Kurt that she is hungry and asks if he has something to eat. He only has some hard bread, and though Hilda tells him that it will be enough, she can't even bite into it. Famil then asks Hilda if her eternal youth is because of the medicine Kurt made, and she affirms. She asks Kurt if he can make that medicine again, and he replies that he hasn't seen a rainbow flower after that one time, and he can't make the medicine without it. Hilda apologizes to Famil that she couldn't help her more, but the old girl tells her that she doesn't mind it. Kurt is shocked to hear Famil's name, and he asks her if she is really Takon's daughter. She affirms, and Kurt's single working brain cell gets fried trying to figure out what is going on. By the time he arrives at some sort of conclusion, Takon comes to the room, and he is relieved to see that his daughter is safe. He thinks that Kurt is the thief, but Kurt lashes at him, saying that it is wrong to kidnap people no matter the reason behind it. Takon tells him that he will never understand his situation, and Kurt replies that he totally understands it because he is a dad too, and he loves his daughter. However, he immediately gets off the rails after this, accusing Takon of failing to love her daughter after she grew up and kidnapping Hilda, who can never grow older, so that he can love her as his daughter forever. Everyone is confused by this, but Kurt is not done with his Delulu mode yet. He thinks that because Takon was giving all his attention to Hilda, Famil drank a medicine that made her look like an old lady, and everyone is dumbfounded. Finally, Kurt accuses Takon of being a PDF file, and though he can let a lot of things slide, the noble firmly objects to this. However, Kurt doesn't stop yapping and tries to guilt Takon about not loving Famil once she grew up. Hilda suddenly paralyzes him because she has had enough of his rambling, and then she turns to Famil, asking if she is sure about their plan. Famil affirms, clinging to Takon's arm as she asks Hilda to kill him.